What I didn't see was the Columbia River. The Columbia is treated as an obstacle. It's treated as something to be gotten across as quickly as possible. For all the plans for this being a bottleneck between Mexico and Canada, I mean, I've lived up here, and I know there can be a sort of sense that the Pacific Northwest takes itself way too seriously. But this is not the major obstacle between Canada and Mexico. And
in every American community, the water was shipping, and then it was industry, and because it was cheap land, the railroad often went by there, and there was barrier after barrier after barrier, and it's only in very recent years that we have said, hey, we can live on the water's edge, we can recreate on the water's edge, the water can be our connector to other worlds. And I think that has been a very major move in the history of architecture and urbanism in America during the time that I've been looking at it. And why the hell can't the Columbia River be part of that?
the river just utterly vanishes. I don't think you can care about a natural object unless you actually get involved with it. I was astonished about how little the Columbia matters in this and how restricted the plans are. It's a massive bridge, but it really cares about a very narrow corridor. What happens outside of that corridor doesn't seem to matter, and that's a kind of planning that I think, quite frankly, is obsolete.
We all independently came pretty much to that conclusion in different groups in different places without talking to each other. Can't we unbundle this somewhere? The interchange on Hayden Island is an utter monstrosity. I mean, it's just a goddamn horrible, awful, black, dark, miserable place that they're planning to create there. And then the question then becomes, why are they doing that?
It brings up an issue about the values that this community has so expertly exported. The quality of life that you have is known throughout the world.
This is an opportunity to apply that same kind of ethos, that same courageous and far-sighted way of thinking at a much larger scale, and to think, you think of something that's being made not for today with all of today's assumptions, but what is life going to be like in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? How is this leaving a legacy for our children and grandchildren? That's really the way in which one has to think about it.
I think you need the signature of this community on this project. I think the aspirations of this project have to be higher. They cannot be simply utilitarian. They cannot simply be judged on how many accidents they stop or how much they decongest the area. There has to be a set of guiding principles that speak to the aesthetic value that this project has to the region.
What is the opportunity that's being missed here? A great example is called Øresund. Øresund is the link between two countries, not two states, between Denmark and Sweden, between Copenhagen and Malmö, and it's a great connection which is part bridge, part tunnel, but what it is more than the infrastructure is a project that is led not by transportation but by city transformation. And on both sides of that national border, those new neighborhoods that are being created are absolutely spectacular. I think what we're getting to nowadays is reclaiming space. This design, with all its spaghetti and its hugeness, absolutely fails to do, in fact does the opposite, is it obliterates space. We've heard over and over, it obliterates the sense of the river, it obliterates the sense of its connections to the things around it.
We all know, if we've been through these processes before, nothing happens until someone makes a definite proposal. And that's what we have now. We have one from the highway planners. And I am a great admirer of engineers who can do a lot of things I can't do. And I would urge the point that this has not been lost work up to this point. In fact, there may be 20% down the path to designing a bridge.
It's not that all the work, the $100 million of effort, is useless, not at all. It has actually been very helpful in elucidating the problem.
You're doing something that really has the potential to have national resonance. If you see this bridge as representative of the values of this region, then we really have to consider the alternatives.